thank you so much for joining us here at SuperReturn in Berlin.
My pleasure.
Is it good to be back amongst your peers in person?
It feels very good. It feels really very good.
It's been a very challenging period. What have you seen in terms of shifts in the landscape in private equity during that period?
It is a really very significant change, and I'm not sure if we really know what it means, because I believe the process of change is still going on and difficult to see where it may end. But what has changed really is that we see a massive digitization of economy, and some changes accelerated so quickly. We never expected that this change may take so fast, and it's positive. Okay, and I think it's positive for the environment, it's positive for society, it's positive for our businesses. Also, what has changed is that people started to think differently about building businesses and creating value. Things like supply chains and what is a good supply chain and definition of it or perception of it has changed dramatically. And people are much more focused now on security of supply. And for example, European businesses are much more focused now on nearshoring of their supply chains than really squeezing every penny for profit, because it means that security is more important than the incremental margin of profit.
So significantly a sort of longer term view, if you like, as well, because that's going to play into that as well.
I would certainly agree with that view. People started to look at their businesses, plans, and so on with longer term perspective. And also people started to much more appreciate human capital in their businesses and security of human capital and long-term well-being of human capital in their businesses. That's also very, very important, significant change that is taking place. And I'm pretty sure this will continue going forward.
So that's a shift in priorities, and presumably hand in hand with that go opportunities, new opportunities.
For sure, and especially for private equity, when we are forward-looking, when we, I believe, appreciate some of these changes faster and maybe get deeper on understanding them than some other entrepreneurs, and therefore we can identify opportunities that are brought by those changes. And my general belief is that any of these changes or challenges bring opportunities, but only people that are well prepared will identify them and be brave enough to basically invest in those opportunities.
And with your regional expertise in Central Europe, what do you see as specific to that region?
Most specific, it's probably nearshoring, because let's face it, nearshoring was taking place already for more than 20 years, okay? And Western manufacturing base, if you like, moving to Eastern Europe and offsetting some of the supply chains from China and so on. But it accelerated enormously within COVID. Sometimes because people wanted to have their manufacturing base closer to home, but mostly because supply chains changed so significantly and people wanted to really have security beyond cost considerations.
One of the other things that's been talked about a lot this week as well in terms of the COVID impact is people's prioritising of ESG and climate and social impact. Is that something you've seen in your region?
We see it a lot, and especially in case of Abris Capital, it is something that was very important to us for long, and we always are proud of our ESG program and the impact we bring to the portfolio companies. We have recently published our climate manifesto, so we made commitments of our portfolio becoming carbon neutral. Okay, and we think this is important, and this is important for value creation. Okay, we believe that this is the way of delivering value to our portfolio companies. Sometimes because of improving EBITDA, sometimes because of improving multiple. But the end result is that this brings value to our investors.
So it makes sense to the bottom line, and it's risk management as well.
Absolutely.
With that in mind, what would you like to see happening next? And do you think there's more still to be done by this industry to step into that space and that role?
I think so, but let's face it, we also need some regulatory support, okay? Yes, we are happy to bring change, but some of the change will not take place on a scale that is needed without regulatory support, without forcing some other players also to consider this change seriously. Okay, so yes, we are happy to be on the forefront, but there is a need for a minimum standard that is set by the regulatory regime that forces other players to follow up. Okay, and that's what is missing. But I think this will take place, and there is a lot of indications that governments, parliaments, and so on are thinking about introducing some of these regulatory changes, and they start appreciate that this is not just down to business. They have their own role in that game to play.
And it requires a collaborative approach within this industry too, work together.
For sure, it requires a lot of collaboration, it requires a lot of discussion, brainstorming, working out standards. So when we use some phrases, statements, we know that, when I use them and my colleague use them, they mean the same.
And presumably an event like this is a good opportunity to share those insights and ideas.
It is a very good opportunity indeed.
How is it to be back, and is it nice to be back in the same room as people again?
I think so. I mean, I appreciate technology and all the Zooms and Teams and so on, but it's nothing like sitting with people face to face and not only, listening to what they say, but also seeing their emotion and sharing their emotion. That's something technology, at least so far, cannot replace.
Well, I'm glad you're having a nice time here, Paweł. I hope those conversations continue. Nice to
Thank you so much.
Today.
My pleasure. Thank you.